What's up, guys? It's Mamadeadhead, and I am back with a Star Wars video. So I never thought that I would be making content on Star Wars, but here I am. So I want this to be a more discussion type video like I normally do, so if I stumble a bit or say a lot, do apologize. But I wanted to make this video as a little bit of context on a new series that I'm starting because I think that you guys deserve it since I've literally never talked about Star Wars ever. So the new series that I'm starting that I talked about in the previous video is Clone Wars, and I'm very, very excited. And I want to explain to you guys, when I got into Star Wars, I'm literally a brand new fan, like in the title, wherever the title is that you're looking at this video, whatever device you're on. I'm a brand new Star Wars fan, so I want to explain how, when, why, where, everything. So I just watched the movies over winter break. Athena was out of school and I had bronchitis. Very bad. I could not talk for nearly a week. I couldn't leave the couch for like over a week. It was really bad. I haven't been that sick in a long time, and it was just really rough on me. So my husband really wanted to go see the new Star Wars movie, which we did end up seeing, but I didn't really have any reference for it, but I wanted to go. So I was like, I'm sick. I can't even talk. I'm going to sit down and watch everything. So I haven't watched everything. I've watched the 9 movies, 3 trilogies. I've watched those, and I've watched Solo, and I've watched Mandalorian. I've not seen Rogue One, and I haven't seen any of the other little like cartoons or anything like that. Now, as for what I knew going into this series, I knew that Darth Vader is Luke's father. There's no way of getting around that with, me being on social media as much as I am and having like a social media presence of any kind. You're going to know that. So I did know that. Now, growing up, I lived with my grandparents and they love Star Wars, more so my grandmother. And so some of the visuals were there. I knew like what Queen Padme looked like in her costume, and I knew of characters, and I knew the quote like, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." Also really hard to get away from if you watch Family Guy, because I'm pretty sure it's referenced like a bunch. I knew of R2-D2, I knew of Yoda, I knew that people liked lightsabers. That was kind of it. The only other bigger thing that I knew but didn't actually know while watching is that Leia and Luke are brother and sister, that they're twins. The twins thing really blew my mind. I knew that they were related, but that was one of those things that I've heard it so in passing that I didn't remember until it actually happened, and I was like, oh. So it was basically like, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but it was something that I knew. Now, the character that I knew the most, which I think is hilarious now that I'm in this fandom and hear that like people really don't like this character, but the character that I knew the most was Jar Jar Binks. And the only reason that I knew this character was because growing up, again, with my grandparents, we had this huge, ugly, slow box TV with dial-up internet, and they had this like racer game where you could be Jar Jar Binks. So I was always Jar Jar Binks because I thought Jar Jar Binks was hilarious. And as a kid, Jar Jar Binks is hilarious. So, yeah, that's kind of like my introduction. Oh, this is huge. I don't know why I left this out. I did see The Force Awakens when it came out in 2015. I can't remember. I retained none of it. Absolutely none of it except for BB-8. I love BB-8. To the moon and back, but I did not remember that movie. I only went and saw it because I was very pregnant, it was free, and I was bored. I came out of that movie not understanding anything, asking a bunch of questions, retaining absolutely none of it. And I think that if you've been pregnant, you can relate to pregnancy brain, which I definitely had. Literally did not recall any of it at all whatsoever. So everything was basically new to me. No, I did watch a weird Ewok cartoon when I was very little, and I don't remember it. I just remember that it's a thing. So I wanted to answer some questions for you guys, and I'm going to start with someone who asked me a bunch of questions on Twitter, and that is Robbie. So Robbie, I'm going to go into your big list, and I'm going to go back and answer everybody's individual questions. So I know that some of what I'm going to say is going to be controversial, because now that I'm in the fandom and like I see where people are coming from, or like longtime fans, I have a much different view on things because I viewed it all at once. Like I literally viewed it in like a weekend, like everything. Not everything, but you guys understand what I'm saying, like all the big movies. So I see things a bit different. So out the gate, I'm going to be really controversial, and I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me. Who's your favorite Skywalker? Rey is my favorite Skywalker. I just want to put this out there that I love so many different types of characters that it often gets me in trouble because I like villains a lot. I like them the most, typically. So I don't really hate anyone. It's really hard to hate anyone except for like two people that I'm going to talk about later, because somebody asked me who my least favorite male and female characters are, which I will get into. But it's just, I can understand where everyone is coming from and how everyone got there. So it's super hard to like really hate anyone. And I love Leia, and I love Anakin, and I love Luke, but I just love Rey more. I do apologize. And I know that it's iffy on if she's a Skywalker at all to some people, but to me, Luke and Leia said that she is, so I'm going to say she is, and she's my favorite. Who is your favorite character? Now, having said what I just said, that I do like a lot of characters and I don't really have like a bunch that I hate, I'm so basic on like some of the ones that I love. And my favorite character in this whole series is Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm so basic. I can't believe I'm saying that. But yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite. And I know that this is, it's not really a later question, but I saw it on Twitter, and I know that you answered it, Robbie, and a few other people. I think Jordan answered it too. But it was, who's your favorite characters from like prequels, original trilogy, and sequel? And someone responded with Obi-Wan, old Obi-Wan, dead Obi-Wan's voice. And I was like, same. Actually, it's why I'm watching Clone Wars. I'll just be honest with you guys. I want more Obi-Wan content. And I saw that Obi-Wan is in this series in some capacity, even if it's just for an episode, so I'm down. That's why I want to watch it. What's your favorite message of Star Wars? I love this question. I read through all the questions, so I got a general feel of everything, but my favorite message of Star Wars is that it doesn't matter like who you are or where you come from. You can have like such greatness in your future. It's basically the basis for like all of the trilogies. We see Anakin, whether or not he goes in a way that we want him to go, he becomes like the most powerful being in this universe. From a slave boy that like really wasn't going to get anywhere otherwise, he becomes this like great Jedi master. Like from an actual slave being bought as property to like the most powerful being. Like that's amazing. Like that's awesome. And then Luke, coming from like nothing, not knowing his past, Tatooine, desolate. Nobody wants to be on Tatooine really. And he also becomes this amazing Jedi master. And then we see Rey, and it's just like literally shoved down our throats. You're nothing, you're from no one. And she might be a Palpatine by blood, but she doesn't have to go that route, and she creates her own destiny from nothing. And I don't know, I just think that the whole idea of that is something that's like really beautiful, whether or not we like the direction that it goes in. I really like the message of that sentence. Favorite quote. So upon reading this, I thought of three that I really like. Oh, everything. It's going into hibernation. So I thought of three, and I'm going to go with the most basic one first. I have to go with the most basic one first. I wrote them down so that I can make sure that I get them right so I don't seem too dumb, which I don't think that I would. But I'm going to go with the basic one first and then go into the other ones. And they're actually all from the prequels. So the basic one, You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. I'm gonna cry at some point in this video for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Even though there's so much, and that movie is depressing. It's so sad. I remember watching it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this big thing is gonna happen. Big thing happens, and I'm texting my husband. I'm like, I hate this movie. I'm depressed. This movie's terrible. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's amazing. But I'm like, oh, this is awful. I'm so sad now. But you were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. I'm not crying. You're crying. The other two, actually the first one that I thought of was one from Padme, and I don't know why this one sticks with me so much, but I just think that she is an incredible woman, and she's like very powerful and very intelligent. And when she said, so this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause, that just like, it like got in my brain, and it stayed there, and it stayed with me. So that was the first quote that I thought of. And then the other one is from Qui-Gon, and it's your focus determines your reality. And I just love Qui-Gon because I love his approach just to the Force and everything. Everyone could see Anakin's future was like bleak, but he was like, no, like we can make our own. I know that the Force is a thing, the Force is a thing, the Force is a thing, but no, this is how we're gonna go with this. I think that, I don't know, he's just a really awesome character. So, probably going to get into that later. So, let's go back. Favorite scene. This is a hard one. I don't really want to go with a depressing one. I'm going to say a couple. I really depressingly liked one that I just quoted. You know, the infamous Obi-Wan and Anakin scene at the end of the third movie. That one I really liked. I liked when Darth Vader killed Obi-Wan Kenobi. Although at the time I was pissed. Like I was like, I'm not even gonna watch this movie anymore. The first one that I watched, and I'm like, I'm done when they killed Obi-Wan. But I don't know what it is about that. But yeah, whenever Obi-Wan just like looks at Luke and like knows. What? Come here. I hear you crying in the back. Oh, okay. Okay, we're gonna give you pets. But yeah, that, and I loved when Rey, Finn, and Poe reunited at the end of this last movie. I love that. So, maybe one of those. Maybe one of those. But there are so many good scenes. It's really hard to pick, like, one. Favorite film so far, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that you also said The Last Jedi is the best movie. This is not a question, haha. I would have to say personally, oh, Belly, you're so sweet. This is going to be another unpopular, but The Last Jedi or The Phantom Menace. I know. People are going to just, like, unsubscribe from me for this video. Favorite, oh no, I already did that. Prequels, original trilogy, or sequel. So this is likely going to be more controversial than my favorite Skywalker question. When I watch a movie, I watch it because I love the story or I can relate to characters. And I have to be 100% honest and say that I could not get into the original trilogy. I know that some people are shrieking right now and hating me, but I couldn't really relate to the characters, though I love them. I love, like, nearly everyone in those. I don't have any issues with anyone. Even Darth Vader, I really like Darth Vader. I don't know, it just, I wasn't feeling it. It just wasn't for me. I like them, but that's definitely my least favorite. When it comes to, I love the prequels. I love the prequels so much. And then the sequel, I really love the sequel. The difference between those two is I'm really, really in love with the story and the characters in the sequel. And then with the prequels, I love the details and, like, just the little things that they put into it. And the characters are all dope. And I love the direction that it goes in. But I guess if I had to pick, like, my favorite out of those two, I love the first movie and I love the third movie, but the second one fell kind of flat for me. So I guess I would have to go with the sequel because I genuinely enjoyed all three of those movies. So sequel. How did you feel about the Reylo kiss? So having watched everything, I know that now like there's a serious like fandom and like shipping about like a bunch of different characters, but when I watch a show, and this is even true for The Walking Dead, for those watching me right now that love The Walking Dead, I don't really ship, and I see stuff coming, but it's never really like a huge thing, with the exception of King Ezekiel and Michonne. But to be fair, that shocked everyone. So yeah. But how do I feel about the Raylo kiss? It's not like I was jumping out of my seat like super excited, but I understood it and I can appreciate it, and I do really genuinely appreciate Kylo Ren or Ben's relationship with Rey. I do really like that. But yeah, I wasn't like jumping out of my seat if that's something that you were expecting. What's your favorite part of... I love this one. What's your favorite part of Luke's journey? Did you feel the story was justified? I mean, in The Rise of Skywalker, he was finally able to lift the X-Wing. I just want to say that I love his journey. I love what they did with him. I think that his story was justified. I mean, whenever he died or became one with the Force, I thought that it was beautiful. I didn't think that it was tragic. I didn't think that it was for nothing. He literally gave, like, the rebellion a shot, you know? So, I really love Luke, and I love his story, and I think that it ended in a very beautiful way where he went from being this, like, tortured person because of what happened with Ben to, I don't know, like, just this amazing presence in the Force. So, what's my favorite part of his journey? I liked... I don't know, this might be cheesy, but I like the end of it. And I really like his spirit just through everything. Like, he really thought that everyone could be, like, rehabilitated. And I don't know, he's just a really awesome guy. So my favorite part is probably the end where he basically sacrificed himself so that everybody had a shot. Favorite bounty hunter? Din or one of the Fets. Okay, I just want to say that I genuinely love all of these characters, but Mando, come on. If I had to pick between Boba Fett and Jango Fett, probably Boba Fett. Now, I do want to say that, like, they didn't really have a lot of lines or a lot of... They had story, obviously, but they didn't have, like, an incredible amount of lines, but they're so impactful. And seeing, like, origin stories for, you know, how Boba Fett ended up like he did, to see that in the prequel was really amazing. And that's why I say it's super hard to dislike anyone, because hopefully I'm not getting those two names mixed up and I think one is the other, but Boba Fett saw his dad get beheaded by a Jedi, so I can understand the hostility. So it's really hard to dislike them. I actually genuinely really like them. And of course I like Daddy Mando. It's Daddy Mando. Favorite droid, which I gave you crap about because you left out too. Favorite droid, BB-8, R2-D2. I did not see Rogue One, so I cannot include that one. L3, C-3PO, and then I'm going to add IG-11 and Dio. But who is my favorite? That is so hard. It's so hard because I like them for very different reasons. But can we just give a shout out to the droids in Star Wars, because they're out there making it happen and like everyone loves them. But at least the fans do. The people in the show seem to just take them for granted. I wish I had a BB-8. Probably BB-8. Although if I had multiple films with L3, she might be up there because she is sassy and I love her. And when she was destroyed, I shed a tear, a single tear. I loved her. But BB-8. BB-8 is just like, I don't know what it is about BB-8. I'm going to talk about BB-8 a little bit later, but out of those, BB-8, but please know that I love all of them. Leia is a Jedi. How did you feel about that revelation? How did I feel about that revelation? I explained this to my husband, and this is just the feeling that I get, is that some people are more Force sensitive with, like, knowledge and understanding and like stuff within the Force. And then you have some people that are incredibly gifted at fighting. And then you obviously have people... She's like upside down. And then you have people that can do both. And honestly, you know, everyone's amazing, but I always felt that Leia was more like emotionally in tuned with the Force. You were gonna fall off me, little girl. I always felt that Leia was more in tune with the Force in an emotional way, like knowing that Luke needed help and more stuff in that direction. And I don't know why, but the revelation that she was a Jedi and her with a lightsaber was amazing. But for some reason in my head, like just from the start, because of how we're introduced to Jedis, I just naturally assumed that she was a Jedi. I know that that doesn't make any sense now, like looking at it objectively, but just with how in tune she was to everything, yeah, I just assumed that she was a Jedi. So it wasn't huge, but it was like, oh, queen, yeah, let's go type of a moment for sure. Okay, so that was all of your questions on here, but I know that you definitely have more questions that you asked me. You have 2 more, I think. Let me see. So no, I haven't watched Rogue One. Okay, let's see here. I have a question. How did you feel about Ben's sacrifice? This is still Robbie. Sorry. I have a question. How did you feel about Ben's sacrifice? Do you think his redemption was enough? And finally, Rey Skywalker. I want to know how new fans feel about that. I did explain this a little bit in my answers to your other questions, but how did I feel about Ben's sacrifice? Do you think his redemption was enough? I think that his redemption was enough. I know that what I'm going to say to these 2 are pretty unpopular opinions, but please keep in mind that I'm new. So I literally viewed everything at once, and I think that that definitely has an impact because I didn't have a chance to sit and pause and think and hope and really want something to happen. I just viewed it all. So it's like, here's a story, here it is, here you go. So I didn't have that of like, man, I really wanted this. I just got what I got. So how do I feel about Ben's sacrifice? Do I think that his redemption was enough? His redemption is something that I think is really incredible, and I put it on the same level as Darth Vader, but I feel that their stories did end there for a reason, and I think that if we got more story, which I know that we don't, we would see how that would affect Rey. Now, there's another similar question that I definitely want to get into with this, but I think I'm going to do this one after. But do I think it was enough? Yes. And I think it was beautiful, and I wouldn't really want it any other way. I know that more people wanted him to come back to the good side. They wanted Ben Solo. They wanted him to be good. But I think that even after all that he had done, that would be incredibly hard. I don't know. It's just really tough to see a character like Anakin or a character like Ben come back to the good side after all the bad that they've done. Because even though they have that opportunity to be good, so much death came from them. So it's just hard. And how do I feel about Rey Skywalker? I was so happy. I know that some people aren't, and they're like, she's not a real Skywalker, but she is to me. I love her, and I hate Palpatine so much, so I kind of knew going into the 3rd movie. I hadn't seen any spoilers or anything like that, but I knew that something was going to be up. They really crammed it down our throat that she's nobody. She's from no one. She's nothing. And I'm like, she has to be something for how much you're saying this. Jesus Christ. Like, she isn't nobody from nothing. There's something more to this story other than her being, like, so into the Force. I don't know how to put it. So, Rey Skywalker, when I saw her bury, I know this is a super controversial scene, bury those 2 lightsabers on Tatooine, and someone asked like who she was, and she looks over and she sees Leia and Luke, and she says Skywalker. It was an exhilarating moment. I think my husband really enjoyed it too, because I saw it with my husband and a friend, and I think that they both really liked it. I don't know. I genuinely love that here we have an example of somebody that literally is the definition of what could be a super powerful, incredibly evil person, and she chooses the resistance. Like, she feels it inside of her, but she chooses the resistance. I don't know. This might sound really stupid, but I actually genuinely really did like it. Coming from a new literally brand new fan, when I saw that, it made me incredibly happy. Do I feel like it dimmed what could have been Solo? No, because Ben also made his choices, and that's something that he has to deal with. I don't know. I guess that's all I can really say about that. So I'm going to go into that other person. She's about to fall off my lap. Because I retweeted, and then I got a pretty nice question under that one. Okay, alright, found it. Do you think Palpatine coming back ruins Vader's redemption or sacrifice? I personally don't think it did. So, I don't think it did either. I'm surprised that this is a thing, but I can understand how it's a thing. I don't think that it ruins his redemption or sacrifice because of what his redemption and sacrifice meant. And that's what I think that we're lacking with seeing Ben go out the way that we did, because we don't get to see what comes of it. Whereas this whole story is based on this sacrifice, in my opinion, of course. The prequel's not, but this is. So, do I think that it ruins it? No, because it showed Luke that people can come back and they can be different. Now, Luke made some bad decisions with Ben, which he certainly paid for in his own way. But without that sacrifice, I don't think that Luke's spirit would have been the same. And I think that it would have detrimentally impacted the sequel, for sure. So no, I don't think that it was for nothing. I don't think it was for nothing at all. It's more like what it meant to do what he did, even if he wasn't successful. Look at what that choice created. So no, I do not think so. I do not think so at all. Now, I know that there were some other questions, so we can switch back to the original post. So I'm going to go with the fun one, because I really like this one when someone said it. But what Star Wars character is your spirit animal? BB-8. BB-8. I love BB-8. I think it's just the fact that BB-8 is so down for BB-8's people. I want to say she, because I get a she vibe from BB-8, but I'm not gonna say a gender review. I'm just gonna say BB-8, because BB-8 is a droid. But BB-8, 100%. I love BB-8. BB-8 is down for whatever people they're with. They will go to bat for you. They are amazing and sassy. I love the droids because they're sassy, and BB-8. I mean, if you guys would see my text conversation with my husband watching this, you would probably equate me to BB-8. Because I was very sassy with some of it. Okay. So I think that these are the last questions, and they're from Jordan. And they are, there's like 4 questions here, so. Who is your favorite male and female character? Who is your least favorite male and female character? And I'll get into the other questions in a minute. So, I'm very basic in this universe, as I've said. Who is your favorite male character? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Who is my favorite female character? That is hard. That's very hard. But I think that I might have to go with Padme, and that might be a bit of a shocker, but I just think that she's so intelligent and amazing, and I just really enjoy her. I'm really sad that she didn't make it. There was a certain point watching the films that I realized that, like, some characters are obviously not going to make it out of the prequel. And man, when I realized that, I was just sad. I was sad. But female character, I guess I would have to go with Padme. Who is your least favorite male and female character? So, like I've said, I don't really hate that many people, but there are two people that I actually do hate. Who is my least favorite male? Palpatine. And it's not even because he's bad, because I can appreciate that he's bad. It's because he's a weasel, and I don't like that. I don't like, he just makes me feel icky. He's so manipulative, like, the way that he gets what he wants. I hate it. I hate it. I hate everything about him. I hate Palpatine. When I saw I can't remember what trailer, apparently there are a few trailers, but whenever I heard Palpatine in the trailer for the last movie, I threw my phone. And my husband was like, what? And I still, like, I couldn't really talk that well. So, like, I mustered out, it's Palpatine. Threw my phone. And I was so upset. I was so upset that I had to see Palpatine again. But Palpatine. And who is my least favorite female character? This one is literally just petty. It's just petty. I don't like Captain Phasma. I don't like her. I love Finn. Finn is great. Finn is one of my favorites, and don't mess with Finn or we're going to have a problem. So I don't like Captain Phasma, but I love her ending. Muhahaha. Okay, so the last questions are, who do you like the most between Anakin, Luke, Han Solo, and Kylo Ren? And who do you like the most between Padme, Leia, and Rey? So I think I answered the female one because I said that my favorite female character is likely Padme. But Rey is so close. It's just so close. And then I've told you guys that I'm not really like a super fan of the original trilogy, even though I love the character. So that kind of puts out Leia, Luke. She's chewing on a bone. Sorry, guys. And Han Solo. And they're just not really my cup of tea. Kylo Ren, while I do really enjoy Kylo Ren, I am more gravitating towards Anakin. So out of those, I would say Anakin. I might have crapped on his character a bit when I was texting my husband. Because again, I don't know if I said this in this video, but when I was messaging him, I was like, well, Anakin, maybe if you did this, or Anakin, maybe if you didn't act this way. But overall, I actually really love Anakin. And that third movie, I don't want to talk about. But I'm going to add in, oh yeah, I didn't include Obi-Wan, Lando, and Finn since I know you love those characters. Yeah, I said that in that post-each trilogy, those are the people that I picked. I really like Lando. Lando gives me Strand vibes from Fear the Walking Dead. If you guys have watched that show, like, long-term, Lando gives me, like, the con man, like, season 1 Strand vibes. So I really like Lando. And I loved him in the last one. It was so nice to see him back. But yeah, and Finn. I love Finn. Don't mess with Finn. Finn is precious. And Finn is also, when Robbie asked about, like, story-wise, his story is beautiful. He was a stormtrooper and literally said, nah, I'm good, and left and became a huge part of the Resistance. Dude, that's amazing. Like, how awesome, like, that we have characters like this in this universe. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to go with another question because I know that this series has a lot of twists and turns and a lot of stuff has happened. And a lot of what people asked me in real life when I said that I watched a series for the first time was like, well, it's a shocking moment considering you knew the Darth Vader thing. And it is without a doubt Order 66. Because in my head, at the end of the first movie, at the end of Phantom Menace, when Qui-Gon dies at the hands of Darth Maul, pissed about, by the way, and when I realized that he was alive in Solo, I was like, what? No, what is this? I'm so mad. But whenever I watched that and I saw Qui-Gon die, I was depressed because I then realized that I see all these amazing people that are not in the original trilogy. And I'm like, oh no, something happens to them. This is going to be bad. But I was not expecting Order 66. I've never heard of Order 66 before. I had no clue about any of that. So when Order 66 happened, I'm not gonna lie, I cried. I was so sad. My husband wasn't in the house at that point. He was like outside working. And I literally was like, I don't like this movie anymore. I quit after a bunch of, no. I was like, this is depressing. I don't like this movie. I don't like this movie anymore. But yeah, that's all the questions answered. Huge long video. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion type video. But yeah, I'm really excited for Clone Wars. Sorry for the chewing in the background. But I'm so excited to start. I'm excited that I got into this fandom. I love Mandalorian. I love Baby Yoda. Actually, I love like most of the people in Mandalorian. It's a universe that is hard to not like people because you see where they come from, and it gives me sympathy for them. So I really love all these characters, even though some of them aren't on the same level as my favorites. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'm so excited. I can't wait to start Clone Wars, and I hope that this long video holds you over until I get it started. But thank you so much for watching, and drop some Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff in the comment section. I know that he has a series coming up. Trust me, I'm gonna watch it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and like always, think positive thoughts and send positive vibes. Bye, guys.